a trickle of humanitarian aid is getting into the Gaza Strip, and there are multiple reasons why. Now, chief among them is how Israeli protesters are now unfortunately blocking aid at the KEREM SHALOM crossing, which is the main crossing in which humanitarian aid gets through into Gaza. An average of 95 aid trucks per day entered Gaza between October 10th and February 1st, and that's according to the Palestinian Red Crescent. And that's down from the 500 commercial and aid trucks a day before the war, when Palestinians weren't facing mass displacement and starvation. Some 2 million Gazans are dependent on UN aid now, which makes a lot of sense because nearly the entirety of their infrastructure has been destroyed by the Israeli Defense Forces aerial bombardment. Young Israelis have been blocking aid into Gaza as the IDF just stands around and allows them to do it, and that's according to a new report by the Washington Post. One of those protesters is a 17-year-old Israeli who brags about blocking aid. The army is with us, the police is with us, says 17-year-old Tahel Attar. They don't want us to be here, but they get it. They let us. We are talking with them. We are having fun with them. We are offering them everything they need. So again, this is one of the protesters blocking humanitarian aid from entering the Gaza Strip. The teens and a smattering of people in their 20s have come from all over Israel in order to do this. They say that humanitarian aid into Gaza is only gonna help Hamas, and they'll block it even if it means that innocent people will starve to death. And the lack of concern for the well-being of these innocent people who will suffer as a result of their actions is pretty incredible. I'll give you one more example. Yosef de Bresser, a 22-year-old, and his 3 companions are determined to keep any trucks from getting through. And they aren't bothered if innocents suffer. Quote, war is war, de Bresser shrugs. The United States didn't care about civilians when it blew up Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Who gives his enemy aid? Well, obviously there is no interest in giving Hamas aid, but there are Palestinian civilians who are literally starving to death, who don't have access to clean water, who have now gone to measures as extreme as eating grass and drinking seawater in an attempt to survive. But you couldn't bother Bresser with those facts. I mean, who cares? I mean, are these really humans or are they just animals? Who gives a damn about them? Also, just one other thing I wanted to mention before going to you, Cenk. They were asked about the children as well. And the children? Nobody can say children are bad. Benyahu Ben Shabbat says, but the children from the past were murdering and raping and kidnapping on October 7th. Meaning, the Hamas terrorists at one point were children. So that should justify us starving literal children to death, right? I mean, like, Jake, the thing that amazes me is the sociopathic nature of these people.
Yeah.
Sociopathic, this is what sociopaths are like, literally.
Also what terrorists are like, and that's, I think they're, can be defined as that too. Look, either way you define them, they're the worst people on earth. Who blocks aid for starving people and goes, well, even if they're babies, one day they'll grow up to be terrorists. By the way, that's why they killed Israeli children. Same exact logic. Hamas says, well, one day they're gonna grow up to be Israeli soldiers. They have conscription in Israel. They're all gonna grow up to be Israeli soldiers. Let's kill them while we can. Congratulations, Israeli settler blocking aid. You agree exactly with Hamas. You have a terrorist mindset, and that's not at all surprising, again, to everyone else in the world. We say this like with some force here in America because we have to break through this wall of propaganda that exists in America. If you're watching in the rest of the world, you don't even know why we're animated about this. It's super obvious to you that those are the worst people on the planet, the ones that are blocking the aid. The starvation now is significant in northern Gaza. All the ports of entry are in the south. There's only 2 left. These guys go and are now setting up tents and camping and blocking all of the aid so that it's much harder to get through. And that has made the starvation much worse. And right now, I mean, Anna mentioned somehow this is heartbreaking, and I even hate to say it, but some in Gaza have started to eat animal feed. And so, and meanwhile, these monsters, the settlers most of all, I mean, look, the settlers are the worst.
They're criminals too,
yeah,
by the
worst,
way. Like have been arrested multiple times. They are the worst. They are the worst.
Yeah.
And what's sick is like Tahel Attar is a 17-year-old and like has no problem. Like this is learned behavior.
Exactly,
okay?
his parents are evil and his parents taught him to be evil. They're like, this is our land. We go in there and we steal the Palestinian land because God told us. Who else should we murder, God? Says the Muslim fundamentalists and the Jewish fundamentalists and the Christian fundamentalists. All the fundamentalists always go, hey, invisible creature, who should I murder? That's Settler 101.
So Tahel Attar has a problem with the type of humanitarian aid that's being sent to Gaza. We heard they're giving them stuff they don't really need, like strawberries. I don't think people there are crying for strawberries. God, So let's get back to the criminality of de Bresser, okay, a repeat criminal. And I mean that because it's true. De Bresser has lived in Yitzhar, a settlement in the West Bank notorious for its violence against neighboring Palestinians, and has been arrested a dozen times, including during demonstrations backing Israel's contentious judicial overhaul. Tattooed on his neck is a fist raised against a blue Star of David, the emblem of the Jewish Defense League founded in New York by the extremist rabbi Meir Kahane, and designated by the FBI as a terrorist organization. The group launched bombings against Palestinian and Arab targets in the 1970s and 80s, but is now largely inactive. I guess not inactive enough. Yeah. Not inactive enough. So look, the protesters, mostly consisting of these settlers, continues to be a problem in terms of blocking the humanitarian aid, the little humanitarian aid that's allowed into Gaza. But there are other issues as well. So there are explosions. The aerial bombardment has led to a situation in which aid workers don't feel safe delivering said aid to Palestinians. Every explosion in Gaza raises a cheer. Dead, dead, dead Arabs. One camper, meaning one of the protesters, shouts at a roaring volley of outgoing fire. Then she notes the presence of a reporter. Hamas, she corrects herself.
Yeah, that's another terrorist. A bunch of Israeli settler terrorists looking to see rejoicing, literally reveling and partying. And how many Arabs can we murder today? Israel was supposed to be a safe haven for Jews who were persecuted throughout history of time and the world. And look at what it's turned into. It's turned into a land of horror shows. Imprisoning Palestinians, 5 million Palestinians for 75 years, never letting them go, taking more and more of their land, killing them, humiliating them for 75 years. And now that we showed you a 6-year-old being murdered by IDF terrorists earlier in the show, everyone in the ambulance murdered as well. And now you got these settlers who are going in and blocking aid, going, yes, we're starving them to death. You see how evil they are? No, brother and sister, I see how evil you are.
And of course, everything that goes into Gaza has to be inspected by Israel. The long queues for inspection have led to bottlenecks at the Rafah crossing. The UN's World Food Program said last month, adding that among items deemed dual use, meaning they could be used by Hamas, so they should be banned from entering Gaza. By Israel are power generators, crutches, field hospital kits, inflatable water tanks, wooden boxes of children's toys, and perhaps most depressingly, 600 oxygen tanks. Those are the kinds of things that get denied entry into the Gaza Strip. Obviously, life-saving materials, but maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the reason why they're being denied entry. Also, UNRWA has warned that it may be forced to halt its operations by the end of the month due to a lack of funds. As we all know, Western countries pulled funding from UNRWA after Israel just said that UNRWA has ties to Hamas without proving any evidence or providing any evidence of that. The UNRWA Commissioner General Felipe Lazzarini said the agency has not been able to deliver food into Gaza since January 23rd, adding that since the beginning of the year, half of UN's aid mission requests to the north were denied. And then finally, I want to give you a sense of how Israel lies about allowing humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. You might have come across YouTube videos where they're claiming, they're ads in the beginning of videos where they claim like, Israel does not deny the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza, we don't do it. They do, we know they do, and then they lie on social media about what they do. So there's a fact checker for BBC, he does an excellent job. His name is Cheyenne, and here's what he recently posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. The official State of Israel account has posted this video saying it is facilitating aid into Gaza. Wow, that sounds great, doesn't it, Cenk? A short clip at the end of the video claiming to show tents and shelter equipment for Gazans was actually filmed in March of 2022, showing tents in Moldova for Ukrainian refugees. And then he provides the examples, and here they are. Let's take a look at the other graphic. So that is the official Israeli X account. That's what they show you with the tents and everything. Again, that image that you're seeing is not from Gaza, it's from Ukraine. And then he provides evidence of that image.
Oh, look, the IDF is lying. That'll come as a huge shock to our politicians.
The Israeli government's lying.
Huh.
Yeah.
We couldn't have seen that coming. I think they should just trust everything they say. All right, last thing is, I had a debate/discussion. It was a good discussion on a show where one of the hosts was a former settler, and he's now in America, and he was a reasonable guy, no problem. Okay, we had disagreements, but we hashed it out fine. And he thought, but he got most passionate and emotional when I attacked the settlers. Because everybody knows what the settlers are doing. They're trying to prevent peace. They are religious zealots and they hate Palestinians. And
they are running Palestinians out of their legal homes in the West Bank. They spit on Christians who visit the West Bank as part of their faith. Okay, yeah. That's who the settlers are. They're not good people, they're terrible people. They're evil people who believe that they should snatch homes and land that belongs to other people. And they should use violence in order to carry that out. They're good people. How are they good people? Explain to me how the settlers who rain terror on innocent Palestinians in the West Bank are good people.
Yeah, he explained that his parents went because there was cheap land.
I don't care.
I was like, brother, that is not a good justification at all.
Wow.
Okay. Anyway, at the end, he said, yeah, when I was growing up, of course I hated all Muslims, and because I was taught to hate them. In the settlement, of course you were, because the settlements are full of religious zealots who are lunatics, who teach their children to despise Palestinians, and if you get a chance to murder them, or block aid that would lead to their deaths and their children's deaths, not only should you do it, you should throw a party around it. So there's plenty of monsters in there, and all of this, you say, well, why don't you yell at Hamas just as much? First of all, I do. That's why I mentioned Muslim fundamentalists earlier. Second of all, our government isn't helping Hamas. Our government is helping Israel and their settlers while they murder 25 times the number of civilians that Hamas did. It's our job as American citizens to say, for God's sake, stop sending them money to murder these people. If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.